Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of School Life Ready Talks. I am Dr. Cecelia Lynch-Michell, pediatric occupational therapist. And of course, I have with me my co host, Jen the parent. Hey, Jen.
Hello, how was your weekend?
Oh, my goodness. It was amazing. So, you know how last week's show we talked about self care
Yep.
and doing for ourselves so we can do for our families?
Mm-hmm.
I took it to heart. I
Love that.
I actually started on Friday. My very best friend came in town and we've been childhood friends. We've been friends since we were 10 years old. So we've
Oh,
been through practically life together. And she was in town, and we made it a real relaxing
mm-hmm.
um, event. Although we wanted to have some fun too. Um, but we know that when you have friends and people who you can vent and be open with, that really, really helps with your mental health and your self-care. So it was so good that I'm spending Mother's Day weekend with my very one of my very best friends.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. It was amazing. How was yours?
It was great. It was amazing. It's funny because my oldest son, they have their crafts that they do at home for Mother's Day, and and he actually made me a body scrub. And then when he got home, he said, Mom, this is for you to go into the shower, and I made it for you. And all you have to do is just scrub it, and it comes right off. So I just thought that was so, like, it's like we spoke it into, we manifested it, we spoke it into existence, because that's exactly what he gave me. And I asked him for the recipe, and he goes, I don't know what else it has, but I know it has sugar.
That's so
So,
nice. It's so funny because part of my weekend with my friend is we went to a spa
yes.
and I had the scrub. I had the full body scrub as part of my spa treatment. So that's amazing. Like William was really thinking
Yes.
that we
Yeah.
need to do body scrubs. That's part of it. Body
I
scrub.
know. I know. I did let him know that we can make more so that I can do it onto his body. He really he enjoys like when he's just not doing so well, or I can tell he's gonna have issues going down to bed. I'll give him a nice deep massage, and that seems to help. So I'm thinking if it's one of those days I can do a scrub on his back and then put him in the shower, get out, like do like a little spa routine, and then maybe that'll help him come back to reality.
Yeah. It's you know what is funny is like I never even thought that really getting a scrub would be so therapeutic,
I know.
right? But
Yeah.
apparently the people whose job it is to know what's therapeutic and what helps the calm and what helping women or individuals with their self-care and their mental health and what's
Mhm.
supposed to feel good, they figured out this body scrub thing is a
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
it was my first time doing it, and it was amazing. It was really, really amazing. Really, really amazing. So wow. That's another tool in the toolbox, body scrubs for relaxation.
hmm
That's
Body scrubs, bath fizzles are also really good. I know my kids like it. And just deep body massages, even if you're doing it to yourself on your own legs, I find that to be like a little mini vacation, I say. Yes, yes.
oh my goodness. Awesome. So on tonight's show, so we when we started this podcast, Jen and I, our mission was primarily to help children children of parents in school who were identified as having special needs and would require having an IEP or a 504 plan to help them with their schooling.
Right.
And now we are actually upon, here in Georgia, we are actually upon the end of the school year. I can't believe that it's already to, the school year is coming to an end. And for a lot of children and families, whether special needs or not, whether the child has an IEP or not, it's reflection time. It's really a time to say, how did my child do this school year? Because it's typically is at the end of the school year where they do all these major state testing, and it's now time to make decisions. Are they okay to move to the next grade level? Do they need more support? So even teachers are also reflecting, parents are reflecting this time of year.
Yeah.
I know that your younger son, this was his first, and it wasn't even full year of getting support, special needs support. So
It's
how
only been like 3 weeks.
yeah, how has it been though overall for your kids looking back at the
Yeah.
school year?
Yeah. So for my oldest son, we started off rocky. Now we're in a much better place. He's become really confident in who he is and his speech and just wanting to be independent. So I do think that it's been a successful year. Um, Now with my youngest, I do think that it was also successful. I think it was successful on an aspect of we're getting him into the right place. For the entire year he really wasn't in the right place, and now we're reading a bit more, we're doing a bit more, and so I'm really proud of him, and we're going to we have private tutoring services, so we're going to continue that through the summer and see what else I can implement. But yeah, I do think that this year was amazing. I mean, they're confident, they're growing, they're healthy, and that's what more can I ask for?
That's amazing. And you know what? It's such a good feeling to know that your child is on the right track, even
Right.
if it's with support,
Right.
and you're feeling better that your children are getting the correct support for them, right?
Yeah.
So this is really now the time that I would implore parents to look back. Did you see your child struggling? Did you get like a lot of calls this year from teachers saying,
Hmm.
hey, little Johnny is really having a hard time at this, that, whatever? Because when you start as a parent, you start hearing others, the teachers or other staff or your family members or someone saying, hey, it looks like something is wrong and Johnny might need a little bit more help in a certain areas. It's really time for parents to assess it. Don't turn a blind eye to it, because in the same way where we have some parents who, I always say, hey guys, trust your gut. We have on the opposite side a lot of times when parents are not fully grasping what's going on with
Sure.
with with their child.
Yeah.
So it's like a double-edged sword. Like, pay attention to both. If you're feeling something, pay attention to that. If you
Hmm.
have a number of people bringing up issues, especially your child's teacher bringing up some issues, by all means, please, please, please follow up, ask questions, because the worst thing you want to do is make the years go by, because I mean, a few episodes ago we spoke about early intervention and
Hmm.
how important it is.
Hmm. Yeah, with my youngest son, I didn't have anyone telling me that there was something wrong. It was me, the one that was explaining and saying, I need you guys to collect more data. I know that he's not up, he's not matching up to the rest of the students in the classroom. So it was really me advocating for him. And we had gone through many different evaluations, and they would say that he's too little, and that they were mostly focused on social. So I say that to say that please trust your gut as a mom, because I did, and I pushed and pushed and pushed, and then I finally got someone else to tell me where they went to go get a certain evaluation, and I went there and I got it, and now we're at the end of it. But I'm feeling so good that in the fall I know that he's going to go right into the classroom that he's meant to be in, and he's going to have all of those services off the bat, and we're going to start off on the right track. Versus last year, I kept waiting for them to collect more data, and I knew that this year was probably going to be a waste, and it wasn't, thank God. But yeah, I didn't have any teachers or anyone telling me. So sometimes it's the opposite, and you just really have to say, no, listen, I really do think that something is wrong.
Yeah. And don't ever feel like you are that problem parent.
Right.
Like a lot of times parents hold back because they don't want the school or the staff to say, "Oh, here she comes again."
Mm-hmm.
Don't give up. If you feel in your gut and you have all the evidence that you need to have to say, my child is not where it's supposed, my child is struggling, especially if the child is complaining, or you're seeing behaviors that are indicative of a child who is having a hard time in school. Because sometimes these things manifest into problem behaviors,
Right.
right? Or so definitely, guys, definitely speak to your child's teacher and have them make a referral to the proper department at the school that can further look into what is going on with your child. Now, bear in mind, if your child is having difficulties outside of school and their schoolwork is not affected, chances are the school is not going to help with that, because
Right.
typically services that are given in the school eh, are given to help with academic and school based skills, not necessarily things that are happening at home or things that are happening in the community or with family. But definitely, if your child is failing, there's a reason they're failing. Even if they're failing one class, there's
Yeah.
a reason they're failing that one class. If they're having behavioral issues at school, if they're having health issues that's only showing up at school, like stomach ache that only happens during school,
Or
pay
before
attention.
school.
Or before school, yep, because
Yep.
chances are it's school related.
Yep, we had a lot of that. I had a lot of that with my youngest one, and now that he's in the right classroom for a good portion of the day, I don't get any of that. He's literally asking me if that same teacher is going to be his teacher next year, and he's excited, and he feels like he's grasping everything, and he comes home with confidence saying, I'm so smart, look at what I learned, and just various different things like that. And so I did see that firsthand, where in the beginning of the year it was a lot of stomach aches, and I don't know why my stomach hurts, my head hurts, and just really dragging his feet in the morning. Now he's excited to get to school. So they tell you, kids will tell you when something's going on, or when they're not feeling like they're keeping up.
Yeah, and pay attention to those signs, because there are some kids who can't verbalize it or
Mm-hmm.
articulate it. So just be in tune with your children So that is such great information. So tonight, our topic is about what do we do, right? We reflect and we see that our child is not performing how they should perform. And the school year is ending. Um, Summertime is coming up. So now we have parents who have concerns that what's next? You know, do I go through this next year again? What can I do to help my kids? And more so, what can I do to help prepare them for the next level?
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to be talking, tonight predominantly we'll be talking about the pre-K and the kindergarten kids
Mm-hmm.
who are now heading into the summer, and we want to make sure that our children have the skill level to go to the next level. We cover all school levels here on this show. We cover all the way to getting into college, but for this episode tonight, we're going to be covering just the pre-Kers, kindergartners, and grades through 5, at least just the elementary school level, just to talk about some of the skills that they need to have and what we as parents can do when we have children of this age group who might be struggling with some skills, and so that we can do what we can to, because a lot of times there are simple little things that we can do to help boost our children's confidence, because
Right.
as Jen was just saying, having the confidence, you see so many things that improve when the child feels like, hey, I can do this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So many things. I mean, it shows in every aspect of their lives, and so I do think that it's important. It's definitely not an easy place to get to, especially if you have children that are shy. Mine were very to themselves when it came to academic, not so much socially. But there are, I mean, Mrs. You helped us so much getting through those first couple of years and just learning pinchers. Do you remember that? That was the hardest thing for him to grasp, is he could not use his pinchers. And so, yeah, so learning how to hold the pencil, just things like that, I think were good tools to set them up for success.
Yes. So when we think about children who are leaving pre-K and getting ready for kindergarten, there's certain foundational skills that we need um, to we need to make sure that the children are able to perform certain skills, because funny enough, handwriting, it, as much as we're now having all these tablets in schools and Chromebooks, computers, handwriting is something that's never going to go away. I mean, this, it has been with human beings from early times. We scribe, we handwrite. So it's important for kids knowing how to hold a pencil or a marker or a crayon, to be able to control it and form letters and put those letters together to form words, and put those words together, apply the spacing between words so it's legible. There's so much that goes into handwriting. And so
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of skills that we need to ensure that our children have so that they can be successful in school. And
Yeah,
so
I think,
motor skills.
yeah, I think just to bring it all the way back, I remember when my youngest was having trouble writing, and you asked me, what hand does he hold his pen? Which hand does he write with? And we couldn't figure it out because he kept switching it. So first thing I want to say is to figure figuring out which hand is their strongest is going to be the first battle, and then we can work on other things. But I remember I had such a big problem because he kept switching it, or he would do this thing where he would just turn the paper around, and like that's how he kept writing. And yeah, so it's a lot.
You know what, Jen? I'm so happy you mentioned that.
Yes.
Parents, if your child is heading into kindergarten, or even if a child is just headed into pre-K and does not yet have if you can say your child is definitely a lefty or a right or is right-handed, there might be some what we call soft neurological things going on, because I think by 18 months, a child shows a preference.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to handwriting, you can't develop good handwriting skills until you have a definite preference. It's okay if your child is left-handed. A small percentage of kids are left-handed, and the good thing is although we live in a right-handed world, and you don't realize how right-handed our world is until you're dealing with a left-handed child, or that child, you see that child struggling to deal with so many things because they're left-handed. Left-handed poses a little greater challenge for learning writing skills. It just does. And a lot of times people be like, oh, my kid is ambidextrous. That's very rare. Very rare. There are a few people who are ambidextrous, but you're supposed to be right side dominant or left side dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And having what's called mixed dominance, say for example, you're right with your left, but then when you go to kick a ball, you kick a ball with your right. There's something with the brain, like it's just not integrated. So we try to really help children. Well, as a therapist, I really try to help children be solidly right-handed or left-handed, because mixed dominance is another kind of soft neurological sign of that things might not, you might not be as coordinated as you should be. Mm-hmm. So because the right side of your brain activates the left side of your body and vice versa. So it's good to have that integration to get that whole brain working, right? So it's dominance is very, very important for pre-writing skills. So thank you for bringing that up, Jen. That is key one. Make sure you know if your child is left-handed or right-handed. And a good way to know if your child is left-handed or right-handed, you might put something directly in the midline of their body, like directly in front of their body, in the midline, and then watch to see which hand they reach with more consistently. Also, if they're eating and they're using utensils, which hand do they use more? Or even if they're finger feeding, they're not even yet using utensils, look to see which hand do they use more. And then after a while, say if your kid is 3 and you notice that they're predominantly right hand, but then sometimes they will switch to the other hand or vice versa, don't make them switch. What you do, you tell them take a break in whatever they're doing and then redirect them to using that hand. Because sometimes kids will switch for 2 reasons. One, they will switch if that hand gets tired. So they're coloring and then that hand gets tired, they switch and they go to the other hand. Or the other time they will switch is if they're coloring, say they're coloring with their right hand, and they now have to color on the left side of the paper, they will switch and put the crayon in the left hand because their brain, you remember I just spoke about the crossing of the brain, their brain is not crossing, the signals are not crossing to wherein they can cross the midline of their body to go work on the other side. So that's called bilateral integration. So just pay attention to that. You really want to help your child develop a hand preference
Mm-hmm.
or a side preference um, as they get ready to go into kindergarten. You want to make sure, because I can tell you, if you do not have that integration, that two-handed integration, a lot of things are going to go awry, because then you can't cut with scissors, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
can't hold the paper with one hand and write with the other hand. So a lot of what we do requires us using both sides of our body, although one side is the dominant side.
Yep. Yeah, I remember I had to guide my younger one into choosing a side. I knew it was his right one, and I just said, "Listen, I did that. I said we're gonna take a break, and this is where I want to see your pencil or whatever he had in his hand." So, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, developing those motor skills is very important, very, very important. Um Also, so we talk about developing the motor skills, and those are the fine motor skills. Gross motor skills, jumping, hopping, dancing, those are very crucial skills as well. All of them work like movement builds our brain.
Right.
And so it's important for kids to move. Very, very important. Movement is crucial, 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 crucial. And Jen, you know how I feel about these tablets and these
Mm-hmm.
phones.
Yep.
And I'm begging parents, if you're going to be using these tablets as your children's entertainment, incorporate it with movement or getting apps, because you have apps that you can put on your tablet where you can use a stylus
Mm-hmm.
to color. And the stylus is like a pen or pencil for the computer screen. So you can use a stylus. So please, 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 if you're using tablets for your kids' entertainment or to keep your kid engaged, you're using anything, find a way to incorporate movement, because movement is key. Movement is every movement. My girlfriend, who was here with me over the weekend, she's a physical therapist, and we were talking about how exercise, which is movement,
Mm-hmm.
is pretty much the cure for everything. If you think about it, like movement helps with your mood, it helps with your psychological processing, it helps with your motor skills, it helps with your the way you navigate your world. It helps to lower blood pressure. So those things that you don't see outside, the things that are happening inside, movement and exercise, key to health. The more you move, the healthier you are. The more you move, the more you can um, improve your lifespan. So make sure that we are using movement with our kids. And guess who need it most? Our kids, because their brains are just developing. So
Mm-hmm.
let's really, really encourage movement in our everyday life.
Mm-hmm. It's such a it could be just as simple as putting on a great song that you guys can just move to, and it's 2 or 3 minutes of just movement. I think ultimately I think it comes back to being intentional with your iPad or whatever usage, your tablet usage, and being intentional about scheduling. I'm obsessed with the schedule. So scheduling 5-10 minutes of movement. My kids did it today. They get home and we have a rowing machine and they sit there and they row, and then but that is helping them get that body, get their blood moving. And I know that they're moving in school, but I do it because summer's coming and I don't want them to be couch potatoes. So I want us to start creating valuable habits outside of school, where they're it's not working out for vanity, it's working out for our hearts, for our, so that we can get better rest at night. I mean, like you said, it helps you all the way around. And that is something that I truly believe in as well.
Yes. So, parents, you move, get the kids moving. It's healthy for everybody. And there's so many different things that parents can do with their kids to incorporate movement. Like a lot of parents, if you're going out to the park, take your kid with you.
Hmm.
Just even being outside is great. Take your kids with you. Also, if you're doing yoga, you can do yoga with your kids. There are a lot of like YouTube videos that you can watch where it's like parents and children's bonding while they're doing yoga, doing the yoga
Hmm.
moves. They have like the baby and me yoga that for if you have younger kids, like say toddlers, you can incorporate movement with them as well as while you're getting to move. So really, as Jen said, be intentional.
Yeah.
Be intentional about incorporating these activities with your children.
Hmm.
Because you know what, we're talking about being ready and having skills ready for school, but really and truly getting your kids ready for kindergarten really starts from your child is a baby.
Hmm.
From your well, it really starts from in the womb, but let's start with after you give birth and have that baby. That's where you should already be thinking child development. What
Hmm.
does my child need? What how do I build my child's skill levels in all domains, from motor to sensory, to psychosocial, communication. Start early. Don't wait till your child is now in pre-K. You're going, oh, their motor skills aren't developed.
Hmm.
So definitely start early. But say, for example, you're one of those parents who you did everything and your child is still not showing skill levels that are typically developing. That's when, remember, reach out to the daycare worker, reach out to your
Your pediatrician.
pediatrician to
Yep.
say, hey, where can I go to get some help? And your pediatrician should guide you to get some help for your
Hmm.
child if your child is showing any of those delays.
Hmm. I
Another
would.
area that we think about as we get our children ready for
Mhm.
kindergarten is the sensory regulation area.
Yes. That is always challenging. No matter what kind of sensory issues your child has. I know that for us, it's noise. So getting him used to just going back into a louder setting, whether it's a cafeteria or in the classroom when someone else is having a meltdown. Yeah, so just prepping them. Headphones. I know that a lot of schools they have sensory bags, right, Miss Cece? I know that you work in the system.
If they have what?
Sensory bags for each student, and then they can go in and.
They won't necessarily have it unless some schools are more equipped, some classes within
Mhm.
schools are more equipped, so it's not having the sensory bags is not necessarily available. However, if you know that your child benefits, if your child already has an IEP and is then it's okay, because you could easily talk to your teacher and say, okay, if my child is having difficulties, here, use this. And you can do that. But for a lot of parents, they don't know. The child is just getting ready to go into kindergarten, and they don't really know what sensory issues their child may be having.
Mm-hmm.
But then if the child is complaining and you want to do some research and find stuff, you can. Teachers are normally open for kids bringing in these sensory supports that will help them be calmer in the classroom, or just help them be able to get through their school day. Now, a lot of parents tend to want to send the kid in with a toy train that he really, really likes, right? For example,
Yes.
that can pose a problem because the it's hard to for a kid to use that toy train without it being disruptive to
Right.
other students. So you have to be mindful of what you send in. So if you don't have something appropriate that you can send in, then speak to your teacher, and the teacher should be able to say, hey, we have this in the classroom. A lot of classrooms, they have those calm down corners that
Right.
has, like, they might have a tent, bean bags, cushions, and in there they have the little fidgets that the kids can use during their calm down time, or during a time that they're having any high anxiety or stress. So it's all about communication. Definitely communicate with the school staff
School staffs and with the children.
and with the children.
Yes, communicate with the children. They have feelings, and they can express it, especially if your mom, or you're their primary caregiver. They'll usually tell you what they like or what they don't like, I feel like.
Yes. So definitely pay attention, because just like adults, like, we do things to calm ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have our things that we can easily do. So it's teaching our kids what works for them as well. So they are becoming aware of
And
their
advocating
sensory processing and being able to advocate.
for
Exactly.
themselves. Yes.
Hmm.
My oldest is able to tell you, I'm overwhelmed and I need a break. And
Yeah.
I'm so proud of him for that. We've come a long way. So, yes. So, teaching them to advocate and to be able to contain themselves, and be able to get to the next phase, I think is very important. Those transitional periods, if you will.
Exactly. Especially going into kindergarten for the first time. It's a new experience, because daycares and pre-K programs, they take naps. In kindergarten, there's no more nap time. So it takes a while for the kids to adjust. And let me tell you, it's like kindergarten is like going to a whole job, okay? They're
Yes.
expected to go, 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 go. So luckily, teachers are moving away from this, what they call bell to bell instruction, where they're just constantly just teaching, teaching, teaching. They're now realizing they have to incorporate those calm down times. They have to
Mhm.
also incorporate those arousing times.
Yeah, music and movement. I've
Music it.
seen, yes, where they have their brain breaks and they sit there and they move and groove, and that's one of my kids' favorite times of the day.
Yeah, the research is out there showing that these sensory activities are key to bolstering learning. So the teachers are really incorporating that. Another aspect that we look at as kids are getting ready for kindergarten is their attention. And this is hard for our children who might be on the spectrum, maybe not yet diagnosed, but they're on the spectrum, or they might have ADHD, not yet
Mhm.
diagnosed, but they have the hardest time staying seated and following the rules. And another issue that we have in school is this chairs. Now they're hard plastic with like bucket seats, so the
Mm-hmm.
kids are slouched and they're expected to sit on those chairs all day.
Yes.
Thankfully, people are beginning to realize we have to use flexible seating, wherein children should not be expected, especially 5-year-olds, should not be expected to sit around the desk in those hard, stackable chairs
Mm-hmm.
all day. So, a lot of classrooms are now using different um, seating options. As I said before, they might have the corner with the bean bags and the carpet squares, and they have these wobble stools. Have you ever seen
Mm-hmm.
those?
I have, yes. Those are
So
fun.
those are fun, and those are very good to help children maintain attention. So when the kids are sitting on them, they're moving. So they're well, we call it
They're listening.
the vestibular system. So
Mhm.
the vestibular system is your inner ear system that keeps you upright, but it's also responsible for your alertness as well as your auditory processing, your listening skills, and everything tied in, and your posture, like it's all tied in. So those wobble seats are really cool, and the kids they love it. They really love sitting on those. So they have those as options in a lot of classrooms. They have the balls, the ball chairs.
Oh, yes. Yes, we've seen those. I will say that for us, it was very, very, very challenging to get my oldest son to sit for a long period of time. So what we did was we would set timers, and if in the beginning, if he got through a minute, if we celebrated that minute, and then we just slowly started adding it. But I know I started doing that once I knew that he was going to be eligible to go to school, because I knew he had such a big problem with sitting still. And a lot of these children, especially children with autism, even if they're moving or they're not looking at you, most of the time they're still listening. It's just their way of listening. So now we're in a better place, I will say. And with the schools doing music and movement and allowing them the opportunity to just shake off their wiggles, I think we've come a long way. But I remember in the beginning, and this was like during COVID, so it was even worse, where we had to start practicing going back to sitting at a table and and just holding a pencil. So we took a couple of steps forward and then back a little and then forward again, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah. So the seated options and remaining seated is hard. It's hard, and but kids will get used to it after a while. And again, if your child is starting, and say we started in August, and by December we're still having challenges with sitting and following the routines and just not being able to um, fall in with the regular routine of a classroom, then there might be issues that we have to look further in. Okay, what is really going on? And then that child might need a little bit more support. And sometimes when your child is a little bit more support in school, you don't necessarily have to get a full um, evaluation and to get an IEP and to get services. Sometimes all that's required is your child getting what's called a 504 plan or an accommodation plan that will just put certain strategies in place for your child that your child has as a support to make it through. So again, if your child is struggling, I would suggest first see if a 504 is all that your child needs, because if that's all your child needs, then you don't have to go through the lengthy evaluation and taking data and all that good stuff. You can request a meeting, and staff will discuss your options with you as it pertains to getting an accommodation plan in place for your child. So we'll do a whole show on the difference between accommodation plan and IEP, but know that there are things that you can ask for to help your child if your child is having difficulty in one area or all the areas as it pertains to your child being able to function appropriately within their school environment. And right now we're talking about kindergarten tonight. And
Right.
when we talk about the other grade levels, I'll tell y'all more about the different things that can go awry with those and what to look for at that level. Back to things for kindergarten. We spoke about sensory regulation. We spoke about motor skills. We spoke about attention. An area that occupational therapists don't really serve. Speech therapists are the ones who mostly serve this area, but all kids have to do it in school to function, is the social skills and the communication, right? So fine, your kids' motor skills might be perfectly fine, but they still need to be able to share materials. They need to be able to communicate their wants and needs. They need to be able to tell the teacher if something is going awry. So communication skills is also important. So that's something that you want to keep an eye on as well to ensure that your child is ready for kindergarten. You want to look at their ability to be able to do these kindergarten social skills.
Right. So reading, I think, books about what is expected in school from teachers, paid teachers, I believe is what it's called, is a great thing. And then as far as communication, my younger one was a nonverbal. So we had these CBC cards, and I would just have him point to what he wanted, or just give him different options, or tell me how he was feeling. If he was feeling sad, mad, we had all of the emotions, and then he just was able to pick to it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just verbal. There are many different ways that we communicate, and helping them find their preference is the way to go.
Absolutely. So for the kids who are struggling, a lot of times, well, eventually we want all our kids to be verbal, but
Right.
the reality is not every kid is going to be verbal.
Right.
So as Jen was saying, whatever works for your kid. And going into kindergarten, if your child has severe language issues and severe communication issues, I think the school will get on that real quickly, because those are things that are like they're blatant and obvious. So if your child is having struggles with that, I think the school will quickly get an assessment done and maybe add speech therapy. Well, have an IEP. If you're going to get speech therapy, you have to have an IP in order to get speech therapy. So they'll probably get an IP in place and add speech therapy services if your child needs that. But the good thing is, guys, know that whether your child is 100% ready for kindergarten or not, and Jen, you come to mind with this, because I remember when you were thinking your second one wasn't ready for kindergarten, and you were thinking of holding him back and not sending him to kindergarten.
Yep, I almost did that, and I'm so glad that I took your advice and I was able to get him into the system. And then it took us 2 years, but we finally got an IEP. So I'm excited to go into the next school year with an IEP. But had I held him back, I don't know. Like, we would probably still be waiting on the data, because pre-K is mostly about playing, and socializing versus kindergarten, they really got to buckle down. I know our schools over here, they have a number of sight words that they need to know. Like, oh, we had kids in his class that were already reading. I mean, it is pretty bonkers. So yes.
I remember when Jen said, I don't think he's ready. I think I should hold him back. It's not going to be a big issue because he has an early birthday. And so it's okay if, and I'm like, no, no, that would not be my recommendation. Hold him back for what? What is going to happen differently for that year? And for parents out there who's in this situation right now, your kid is in pre-K and yes, he's not ready or she is not ready for kindergarten as per the guidelines that are there for what kids should have. That's okay. Send them to kindergarten and let them get the support that they need to bring those skills up. You
Right.
holding them back and not providing them with any support, because if to get any kind of support for your child when your child is not in school is very hard, because then you're talking about paying for therapies outside, bringing your kid to speech therapy, occupational therapy, extra tutoring, all that good stuff, when you can get your child into school and have a team of professionals along with you and your family help to make a decision as to what support they need and get them that support. So, if nothing else tonight, remember this: if your child is not ready for kindergarten, that's not a good reason to keep them back in pre-K one more year. No, send your child on to kindergarten. Um, Also, with that being said, know that we are here week after week. We're providing all the information that we can. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at schoollifeready@gmail.com. I'll put it in the chat in a bit. Um, you can ask any questions, any topics that you would like for us to cover. Definitely let us know. We'll be more than happy to cover it. And if we don't know the answers, we will find an expert that knows the
Mhm.
answers for you. Just like the last 3 weeks, we have had experts just telling us how to get help, financial help. So there are answers out there for any questions that you may have. And we will find those answers for you. So definitely follow us and send us your emails, and we will do our best.
Yep, we're passionate about what we do. And we really, like we've always said, we just are trying to build a community, build awareness, and know that you're not alone.
Now, before we go tonight, um, for individuals who have preschoolers heading into kindergarten, um, there are a lot of I see them all over the place. There are a lot of they like early childhood centers, and there are different programs that are offering kindergarten readiness
Mm-hmm.
camps
Yeah.
and summer programs.
Yep. The library is a good place to start. Start with your
Awesome.
local library. They have so many resources. They too want to get children school ready.
Yeah. And definitely know that your these programs, they can't cover everything. So
Mm-hmm.
you as parents as well help to supplement that by doing Jen's calendar. Jen, go over the calendar again of how you put your activities down, um and
Yeah.
make sure that you get stuff in place.
Yeah. I usually, what I do is I will look at a typical school day calendar and then try to follow that. So, and I mean that in a sense of I always start with at least lunchtime, is trying to get that lunchtime around that same uh, time block that they do during the school year because I don't want my kids to go hungry. So trying to follow those patterns, and then incorporating just different things, like it could be as simple as starting a board game and then having them sit through that, and then moving on to flashcards or different things like that. So schedules, I'm really big on schedules. I live by schedule, and I schedule my own mental health days as well, like I said in the last episode, and I schedule times for my kids to do their exercises. So I think that being intentional is really important when it comes to raising kids, if you will.
Awesome. So don't let this summer go by without you doing your homework as
Right.
parents
You're the
as
first
to
parent. I mean, your first teacher at home.
exactly exactly parents are the first teachers.
Yep.
So if you and guess what, guys, even kids who are um ready for kindergarten, they have those social emotional skills, they have the motor skills, they have the sensory regulation skills. They are typically developing in every way, shape, and form. Even those kids, when they don't engage over the summer, they lose all kids lose a little bit of their skills over the summer. Doesn't matter their grade level, they lose a little bit over the summer. So as parents, to help keep your child on track so that they don't lose too much of what they have gained this past school year, it's important, as Jen said, consistently just do little things throughout the summer. So don't
Nothing
let the
too
summer.
crazy, guys. Like, it doesn't have to be a spelling bee. It can be very simple things like putting a Lego piece. For children on the spectrum, that's a lot. Having to follow instructions and build these little Legos are a lot. But that's a quiet activity. They're sitting down, they're engaging. To me, it's a win-win. Like that's what they did today, and they were followed instructions. So that's a part of reading. I will try to find ways to keep my kids engaged and get their minds moving without them really feeling like I'm hounding them to do work.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be having a lot of information about kindergarten readiness that will be on the School Life Ready website. So go to www.schoollifeready.com if you need more information about kindergarten readiness. I have an assessment for
Mm-hmm.
you to look at all of the skills that your children could use. If you need a copy of that, you can email me. It's schoollifeready@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to send you that checklist. It's a little checklist of the different skill level for you as a parent. It's real easy. Jen, you had done this along with
Yeah.
a few other, very
And
easy
don't
to
be,
do.
yeah, and don't be hard on yourself as a parent. This isn't for a grade or anything like that. No one gets a trophy for being, for having the most advanced kids. It's literally just recognizing, acknowledging, recognizing, okay, this is what we need to work on, and setting goals. I work in corporate America, and we do this once a week, is we set goals. This week, this is what we're doing. And so that's how I move towards my kids. And we have summer goals, we have winter goals. We're constantly working on goals because there is no wrong in this, if you will. Like, don't be hard on yourself. Please give yourself some grace. They don't have
Yeah,
to be dull.
it's nothing for you to freak out about either.
Yeah,
It's just for you to have a better sense, for you to be in
yeah,
control. Because as
yes.
we always say on this show, knowledge is power, right?
Recognizing it, and yep.
So definitely check us out. All right. So tonight we talked about the most common challenges in pre-K and getting kids ready for kindergarten and elementary school. And we reiterated how important it is to, when you believe that something is off, that you feel free to express that to the powers that be and ask for help and support for your children. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help and support for your children. All right, Jen, we're getting ready to be off tonight. What's your takeaway?
My takeaway is brace yourself for impact. We only have a couple more days of school, so be calm and collective as you can. Also start working on a schedule and seeing how you're going to navigate the summer by incorporating fun things along with educational things, keeping your kids busy and moving, not just in front of the screens. um, and giving yourself grace as parents, because we're all doing the best that we can.
Absolutely. And overall, have fun. Have
Yes,
fun, enjoy your
life is too
kids.
short.
Don't be too hard. Don't be too hard on the kids either, because
Yeah.
I see a lot of parents who tend to be very hard on their kids, and their kid is struggling with something, and it's just a parent's way. You want your child to be able to do, but
Hmm.
make sure that we're not being too hard to where we are breaking their confidence. So
Right.
so let's try to empower our children
Hmm.
to have that confidence, because when they think they can do it, they can do it.
They
So
do.
we just have to keep um, being positive in our support for our children. All right, y'all. That's it for us tonight. Please follow us on
Like,
Facebook,
subscribe,
like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really,
share.
really appreciate the support that we've been getting. So I will see you all next week, where we'll talk about the upper grades. We'll talk about kids transitioning to middle school, kids transitioning to high school, and kids who are in high school and getting ready to go to college,
Hmm.
because having a disability such as autism or ADHD doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. We just learn how to be our best selves given whatever disability we have. And Jen and I are here to support parents, and we encourage all professionals. If you would like to share your information, contact us, and we'll be more than happy to have you on this show as well. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Thank
Thank.
you.
All
See
right.
you
Have a
next
good
week.
night.
Bye.
Bye.